What?
Hi Andri, how are you? Okay, so yesterday was our last lesson learning about angles. So let's recap what we've learned so far. We know that when two straight lines meet at a point, they make an angle. We can also call the two straight lines arms, and the point where they meet can be called a vertex. We know that we measure angles in degrees, and we also know that right angles are 90 degree angles. We can use our right angle tester to help us find right angles. We also learned that acute angles are angles that are smaller than a right angle, and obtuse angles are angles that are larger than a right angle. Remember, you can use your right angle tester to find out. So it's a right angle, it's a acute angle because it's smaller, I cannot see the second line here or here, and it's an obtuse angle because it is larger. Lastly, we learned how to use right angles to make turns. So here is this one right angle turn, which is the same as a quarter turn, two right angle turns, which are the same as two quarter turns or half a turn, three right angles turn, which is the same as a three-quarter turn, or four right angles turn, which is the same as a four-quarter turn, or as we will say, a full or whole turn. So, I have to say, I really enjoyed your video singing. Hands down, it was really impressed. So, one last time, do you think we can sing it together? Okay, get ready. And a one, and a two, and a 1, 2, 3. We make a full turn in a circle. We make a half turn, go halfway. We make a quarter turn, go to the side and half. A right angle, yeah, guitar. Pam pam pararam pararam pam 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 pararam pararam pam 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 pam. Anti-clockwise, go to the left. Clockwise, go to the right. And that's all for now. Well done! You got amazingly well. Thank you for singing along.
We're going to start by marking yesterday's work. Let's have a look. We're on page 155, activity 1. So, fill in the blanks to state how each arrow turns to face the direction as shown in the box. So, figure A needs to turn 3 right angles anti-clockwise in order to face these directions. So 1 right angle, 2 right angles, 3 right angles. Figure B needs to turn 2 right angles clockwise. From here clockwise 1 and 2, and then it'll be facing upwards. And now figure C needs to do a right angle turn anti-clockwise, and it will look like this. Then it will be facing down. Let's check our second page. It says fill in the blanks. Emma's facing the school now, so she is facing the school. A. If Emma takes half a turn anti-clockwise, she will be facing them, so half a turn anti-clockwise, a quarter turn and another quarter turn, she'll be facing the shopping mall. Well done. B. If Emma takes a 3/4 turn clockwise, she will be facing them. So she's facing the school, and we need to do a 3/4 turn clockwise. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, she'll be facing the church. C. What are the 2 different ways Emma can turn to face the park? So she's facing the school, and the first sentence says to take right angle turns anti-clockwise. So let's go anti-clockwise and see how many turns. 1 right angle turn, 2 and 3 right angle turns anti-clockwise in order to face the park. The second option will be to take 1 right angle turn clockwise in order to face the park. Finally, D says If Emma takes one right angle turn anti-clockwise and then takes half a turn clockwise, she will be facing the... So let's check one step at a time. So she's facing the school, and it says if Emma takes one right angle turn anti-clockwise, so to the left, one right angle turn, then she'll be facing the church, and then takes half a turn clockwise. So half a turn is the same as 2 quarter turns or 2 right angle turns. So we're going clockwise to the right, 1 quarter turn, another one which is half a turn, so she will be facing the park. Well done, year 3. In today's lessons we're going to learn about perpendicular lines. We're going to start the lesson by looking at this picture of a swing set. How many right angles can you find? Use your right angle tester to help you and pause the video to find out. Did you find more than 10? Did you find less than 10 right angles? We can have a look together. I found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. Were you able to find them all? Some of them were a bit hidden and hard to see, but I'm sure you did really well. It's a bit easier. Let's look at this notebook. How many right angles can you find? That's it. There are 4 right angles. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Remember, you can always use your right angle tester to check and to help you if needed. So there are 4 right angles. Now, can you find 2 lines that meet at right angles? Can you find 2 lines that meet together, that meet at a point in order to make a right angle? Well done. So there is one line here, 1 and 2. These 2 lines are meeting at a point in order to make a right angle. Can you see? So I know that there is a right angle here. Now I need to look for the 2 lines that meet in order to make that right angle. So in order to make this right angle, I know that this line here and this line here are meeting at a point. Do you know how these lines are called? I can hear somebody saying it. That's it. They're called perpendicular lines. My go, perpendicular lines. Your go. So we know that perpendicular lines are lines that meet at a point and they make a right angle. So if I ask you to find perpendicular lines, the easiest thing to do is to look for a right angle. So if you can see a right angle, then you know that the lines that form that right angle are perpendicular lines. Does that make sense? Look at this window now. Can you find 2 lines that meet at a point and make a right angle? So we got an example here, the 2 lines that meet at a point and they make a right angle. Can you find another example? Okay, let's go for one of those that you've just said. So I'm going to look at this right angle on top, at the top of the window. So I know that there is a right angle here, so I know that if there is a right angle, then they're going to be perpendicular lines. So what are the 2 lines that meet together at a point in order to make this right angle? It's quite easy. So I got one line here, so this line meets at a point with this line in order to make a right angle. So these two lines, 1 and 2, are meeting at a point in order to make a right angle. Can you remember how these lines are called? They are called perpendicular lines because they are lines that meet at a point and make a right angle. You can still use your right angle tester to help you. Can you give me another example? Amazing! So here there is another right angle, and we know that if we can't find the right angle, they're going to be perpendicular lines. So what two lines meet at a point in order to make this right angle? So we got one line here, 1, that meets at a point with this line going up here and form a right angle. And these lines are called, yay, they're called perpendicular lines. So when two straight lines meet at a right angle, we call these lines perpendicular lines. Okay, so we need two straight lines meeting at a point. They make a right angle and they are called perpendicular lines. How are they called? Once more, how are they called? Fantastic! Now over to today's content. So, we know that perpendicular lines are lines that meet at a point and they make a right angle. And here is an example. So here there are two lines that meet at a point and make a right angle. So these lines are called perpendicular lines. We can see here that these lines are also perpendicular, but these ones are not. Can you tell me why? Why are these lines not perpendicular lines? Amazing! They are not perpendicular lines because they do not make a right angle. Okay, they do not make a right angle. We can see it here and also here. So this is an obtuse angle and this is an acute angle. Therefore, we cannot call them perpendicular lines. Now, we can name lines using letters of the alphabet. So we could call this line A to B. So this is line A, B. And then we can call this line C, D. So we have line AD is perpendicular to line CD, or line CD is perpendicular to line AB. So that's just to help us refer to them when we want to explain what we've done. So we can just use the letters of the alphabet in order to name them. So you need to name both ends of the line. So A, B, C, D. So line AB is perpendicular to line CD. Now this is your task. Can you use your right angle testers to identify any perpendicular lines in your house? Remember, if you can find the right angle, then you can find perpendicular lines. So pause the video, go in a little hand and upload your results to Class Dojo. Did you find lots of perpendicular lines around your house? I'm sure you did. Miss Dani and I will check your portfolios later on and see what you've done. Sure, it's really exciting. So, now, we got here 3 figures and we need to say whether they have perpendicular lines or not. Remember, perpendicular lines meet at a point and they make a right angle. And we said that the easiest way to spot perpendicular lines was by finding right angles. So let's have a look at figure A. Can you see a right angle in figure A? You can. You can see actually 1, 2, 3, 4 right angles. So we got line JK here and line LM here. So JK and LM meet at a point and they also make a right angle. So we can say that JK, so JK is perpendicular to LM. That was an easy one. Let's check figure 2. So we got line PQ and line RS. So do they meet at a point? Yes, they do. Do they make a right angle? Remember, right angles were angles that are 90 degrees. So can you see a right angle in this figure? No, well done. So we can see an obtuse angle here, an angle that is larger than a right angle, and another one here. And also we can see two acute angles, two angles that are smaller than a right angle. So even though that PQ and RS meet at a point, they do not make a right angle. And they have to make a right angle in order to be perpendicular lines. So we can say that PQ is not perpendicular to RS because they do not make a right angle. Now, let's have a look at our last figure. And this one is a bit trickier because we got 3 lines now. Okay, so we got XZ, ZY and YX. So is this line and this line making a right angle? No. We know that that's an acute angle, so even though they do meet at a point, that's an acute angle, so these 2 lines are not going to be perpendicular lines. What about if we look at the opposite side? Are these 2 lines perpendicular? Are they forming a right angle here? No, again, well done. That is an acute angle, an angle that is smaller than a right angle. So we got 2 more lines left to check. So we got YX and XZ. Do they make a right angle? Be careful, because we might need to turn the shape round to see clearly if they make a right angle or not. Or we might need to think of a letter, a capital letter, to help us. So, do you think this is a right angle? It's quite tricky, but if we think that this is an L, so this is an L here, a an L, then we can see that these 2 lines do make a right angle. We can mark it here with the square, with the little square that we talked about on Monday and last week. So you can see here a right angle. So we can say that ZX is perpendicular to XY because they meet at a point and they make a right angle. Okay, so sometimes you might have to play with your right angle tester, or you might have to turn your workbook round to see if they make a right angle or not. Okay? Okay, so we're going to do one last activity before we move to our workbooks. So, which letters have perpendicular lines? We know that perpendicular lines are lines that meet at a point and they make a right angle. So the easiest way to find perpendicular lines is by finding right angles. So, letter L. Can you see a right angle here? Amazing! There is a right angle here. And there are 2 lines that meet at a point in order to make that right angle. So in order for me to know what is it that you can see, it will be great if you could give your letters a name by using the alphabet. So I'm going to label my lines AB. So this is line AB, and then this is line CD. So I could say that AB is perpendicular to CD, or the other way around, it doesn't matter. So AB is perpendicular to CD because they meet at a point and they make a right angle. Let's check letter I. Can you see any right angles? No, that was an easy one, wasn't it? Okay, letter N. Can you see any right angles in letter N? I can see 2 angles here, but we're more than right. These angles are acute angles. They are angles that are smaller than a right angle. So even though they have lines that meet at a point, they do not make right angles, so they are not perpendicular lines. So there are no perpendicular lines in letter N. Let's check E. Are there any right angles in letter E? Yeah, quite a lot actually. So we got 1 right angle, 2, 3, and 4. We really need to label these lines with some names. So let's do that first of all, so then we all know, we all understand what we can see. So this is going to be my AB line, CD, EF, and GH. So I can say that AB is perpendicular to CD because they make a right angle here. I can also say that AB is perpendicular to EF because they make a right angle here. We could also say that AB is perpendicular to EF again, so we got 2 right angles for the same lines because they make another right angle here. And finally, AB is perpendicular to GH because they meet at a point and they make a right angle here. Do you understand? So if you can see a right angle, it means that there are perpendicular lines. It's really important that you name them with the letters of the alphabet so that we can write down what is it that we can see. Okay, so make sure if you can't see a right angle that you give those lines a letter to label them. Let's check S. Are there any angles in letter S? Brilliant! There are no angles in letter S because there are not 2 straight lines that meet at a point. So all we can see is a curved line here. So there are not 2 straight lines meeting at a point, so therefore we cannot see an angle or a right angle. Did you find this tricky? Remember, even if you are a bit confused now, doing your workbooks will help you. Perpendicular lines are lines that meet at a point and they make a right angle. So if you get a bit confused, use your right angle testers and try to look for right angles. If you can see a right angle, then all you need to do is label your lines and say line AB is perpendicular to CD because they make a right angle, okay? But it's really important that you look for right angles and then you label. You give your lines a name, okay? Well done, well done. In today's work, we're going to be looking for perpendicular lines. We're going to be identifying perpendicular lines. Remember, perpendicular lines are lines that meet at a point and they make a right angle. So, page 161, activity 1, you need to circle the pair of lines that are perpendicular. So if you think that, for example, I don't know, they are perpendicular lines, then you circle the whole figure, okay? You circle the lines. So all the lines that you think that are perpendicular lines, you need to circle them together, okay? Second activity, pages 162 and 163, you need to look at the 4 different figures and use the letters, use the names of the lines to state what lines are perpendicular, okay? So for example, I can see here that AB is perpendicular to BC. So I will have to write in this first box the name of the first line, so AB is perpendicular to the name of the second line, which is BC, okay? So AB is perpendicular to BC. And then we're the same here in C and D. To finish our work, we're going to be looking at another word today, and you need to fill in the grid and say letter O has no perpendicular lines, or letter something has one pair of perpendicular lines, and letters something have more than one pair of perpendicular lines. Okay? Once you've done all of that by looking at all of these different letters, you need to provide another letter not shown above, so none of these letters, one letter that is not here, that also has perpendicular lines. Okay, so you could start by trying the letters of your name to see if you can spot any right angles and therefore that there are perpendicular lines, or it's up to you. Okay, so any letter that you want to that is not here. Okay, well done. Come on, please remember, look for right angles and you'll be more than okay. Okay, can't wait to see your work. Bye. This challenge, you have to create a piece of art using perpendicular lines. Just a tip, if you have some square paper at home, it will help you to create your piece of art. Okay, upload your photos to class.jo so Miss Danielle and I can see all your lovely work. See you tomorrow!